My name is Luther Cox Jr. I am Artistic Director of Inner City Row Modern Dance Company and Executive Director for Inner City Row Cultural Arts Institute. After graduation from Booker T. Washington High School, I got a scholarship to go to Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. Well, in my sophomore year, I was looking for a quiet place to study, and we have two large auditoriums, and so the largest one was Tucker Hall. Well, on that particular day, I'm sitting there trying to study because accounting was hard for me, and that's what I got my scholarship in. So all of a sudden I heard these drums and behind the stage, and then I saw some dancers coming out on the stage, and I'm like, wow, they're doing African dance. I didn't know it was actually West African dance, but they were doing African dance. And here these individuals were scantily dressed, almost nude, and I'm like, oh, and they were doing all these torso and pelvic rotations. I'm like, hey, I can do that, you know. And so I went to the instructor and I told her, I said, I want to do the dance that you all were doing on stage in Tucker Hall. And she said, well, if you want to dance, you have to join the Arkansas Club. And I said, well, no, I don't want to join the Arkansas Club. So I went to her and she told me that, and I said, no. And a couple of days later, I said, okay, I want to do that dance. And she said, well, are you ready to join? So I joined the Arkansas Club, and that was my revelation for dance. Street dance was what you do at the disco. Back then, we were calling it disco. We weren't calling it street dance. So it was all the latest dances that were out at the time, like the bump and the funky chicken and the swim and the jerk and the mashed potatoes and the James Brown. All those dances I could do exceptionally well. And my mama would use me sometime for a conversation piece. I'm like, come on, baby, show them how good you dance. I'm like, mama, come on, I don't want to do that. And that was the difference. When you learn dance, you learn a set of skills that allow you to create dances, if you so desire, in becoming a choreographer, if you so desire. A lot of people do not want to be a choreographer. They just dance, and once that is done, it is done. But when I came back to Shreveport, it panned out to be a little bit different. I had partnered with another young lady here in Shreveport called Unique Dance Unlimited. I didn't really teach children because I didn't like children, because I knew how horrible I was as a child. So she had like 25 kids, and we had made an agreement. I would handle the adults and she would handle the children. Well, 2 days before concert, she left. She just up and left Shreveport and left me with 25 children that I didn't know what to do with. And I'm like, but the show must go on because the parents had done what they needed to do. So I did the concert, and I had a rough time because my patience for children were very, very, very short, because I wanted to treat them like adults. And you can't treat a child like an adult. I wasn't into messing up. You don't mess up on stage. I don't care what age you are. So I would growl, and the parents would be, oh, Mr. Cox, they did so good. They so pretty. And so that's when I realized that it doesn't matter to them as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do. And so I stopped being so growly with the children. I am very disciplined with my kids. You know, you can't say this, you can't do that, you must wear your hair like this. You know, I go by the universal code. So, you know, that was my defining moment. But I love kids. I mean, I have learned to love kids because kids have taught me how to be patient. I was a really bad kid, and the only somebody that could really control me was my mom. And so I was always around her. I was always a two-shoe goody, you know. After coming back from college, I was teaching at Shreveport Parks and Recreation, which is now Shreveport Parks and Public Assembly, in 1975. And a young lady came to me, Miss Gloria Christopher Gibson, and she said, I'm going to start a theater company and I want you to be the dance director. And I said, I was getting ready to leave. I had really gotten fed up with Shreveport. I just had. And she said, I want you to be the dance director. And I said, okay, but in the back of my mind, I said, I'm giving you 6 months. And if you have not done what you said you were going to do, I'm leaving. But unbeknown to her, but she did exactly what she said. She incorporated a 501c3 called the Theater of the Performing Arts, which is still in existence today, which is one of the oldest black theater companies in Shreveport. And so I stayed with her for 6 years, teaching dance. And after 6 years, I said, we need a dance company in Shreveport. And so I left the Theater Performing Arts and incorporated Inner City Road Modern Dance Company. Well, the difference between the studio and a dance company is that a dance company pays their dancers, and they're adults. You can't contract children according to law, unless, I guess, their parents consent. So, that's the difference. I contract the dancers. They must be 18 to 25, and we pay them a stipend to carry out the mission of Inner City Road Modern Dance Company. We augment that salary by, if we have to do lecture demonstrations, if we have to do just simple lectures, then we add to that stipend. And, you know, they make enough to pay a car note. They don't make enough to buy a house, but they make enough. And that's the difference. Music soothes the savage beast. When we listen to music, we can form our own interpretation. And when you see dance, if dance is relative, then 9 times out of 10, it is relative to something that you have done in your life. And that's why Alvin Ailey said dance comes from the people. So regardless of what you do on the stage, there at some point in time, I may see myself. Now, I'm not going to see myself in every dance, but depending upon the dance, I can see myself, yeah. My determination comes when I see them able to take the criticism. And then I say, this one needs to go on. When I start teaching or working with a student, their first instinct to get away from me is to cry. I don't allow that. I tell the parent, you need to go outside and let me handle this. And then once they get over the fear of me, then I can determine, I can see those that are going to say, that I'm going to say, this one can make it. This one needs to go to New York and audition for New York City Ballet, Dance Theater of Harlem, American Ballet Theater. Those are the ones. And I had 2 like that, and one is still dancing. She danced for 15 years for the Dance Theater of Harlem, and now she's with the Washington Ballet, Ashley Murphy. She is just, as a dancer, phenomenal, but when she came to me, she was like, Mom, I'm afraid of him. And I think that's when I determine, when you get over that fear of me. And number one, when you have the facility. When you have the facility, that's when I push. All of us don't necessarily have the facility. We have the desire. But when you have the desire and the facility, then I hound you like a dog, and I don't let you get away with anything, you know. So for the adults and the children that come to me, they have such confidence, because I have heard people say, well, if you could make it through Mr. Cox, you can make it through anything. You can make it through anything and anybody. Because once again, you know, I don't allow your feelings to be up here. You know, I just don't allow it. So either if you stay, then you become thick-skinned, and if you can't, then you leave and, you know, you go somewhere else. I come in maybe every 2 days and I give myself a class, because I heard Balanchine tell one of his dancers who wanted to choreograph, he said, well, I'm gonna stop dancing and I'm gonna start choreographing. And he said, no, if you stop dancing, you're gonna forget how movement feel. And I said, okay, I can't sit around. Even in COVID, I got to go to the studio and give myself a class. And so that's how I stay connected to my own body. music soothes me in a sense. So I don't care what I've gone through. I don't care who has thought they hurt my feelings, because I don't get my feelings hurt. I come into the studio and it's a set of music that I play. I don't play all music. I play a combination. I have it on tape and I go through my exercise with that music. And that music is timed so that I spend the exact amount of time working on my body and my mind. The mind and body connection in dance, those two things become one. My teacher would always say, you got to become the music. Nobody want to hear music and see dance on the stage. You got to become the music. And so that's what I tell my students. If you don't become the music, then you're not saying anything to me, because anybody can do movement once I give it to them. In that studio, it's hard work. My dancers take 5 classes a week. They take one in modern, Martha Graham, one in modern, Lester Horton technique, one in jazz, Gus Giordano technique, one in classical ballet, Vaganova technique, Russian, and one in West African, Senegalese. When I left Shreveport, I knew nothing about dance. And I thought I was brilliant, you know. I mean, I made A's and B's in school. I mean, I just thought I was, I'm not gonna say that word, but I thought I was at the top. And then I got to A&M and I saw that there were things that I should know that I didn't know. And the things that I should know was about art and the benefit of art. And so I came back to Shreveport and they didn't have it. And I said, you know, that's the problem with most of us. We learn what we learn and we only use it to benefit us. So I decided to stay. And, you know, I prayed about it and I told God, I said, if I have one student that really want to learn, I'm going to stay in Shreveport. And I cannot break that covenant. I can't. So I won't even say I'm stuck. I'm here because I want to be here, but I've done things beyond Shreveport. So it's like, you know, this is my home. I travel, I tour, I do what I do, and I come back home. When you are born and raised in the South, it's just different. It's just completely different. So that's why I stay, because they need to know. So whosoever will, let them come. I am not going to beat the brow bushes for them, but I am going to let them know it is here. A young lady told me the other day, and I never thought about it. She said, you didn't build this studio for you. You built this studio for them. And I said, I done spent all my money for other folk. So, but it was the truth. I built it for them. So if you come, you know, like on the baseball, if you build it, they will come. So they have come. Now they haven't come the way I would have wanted them to come, but that's not the issue. The issue is some have come and some have left, and they have learned and they have taken what God gave me back into the public. It needs to be preserved, because fads are going to fade away. I've been around long enough, and God has allowed me to live long enough to know that fads are going to fade away. But those things which are universal, which have been here, are going to be here, even when I'm dead and gone. You know, and I ask the board of directors all the time. I say, you all, it's time for me to go somewhere and sit down. Ain't y'all tired of me? You know, using incorrect English. Aren't you all tired of me? You know, and they're going, no, Mr. Cox, you can't retire. I say, you all, it is time. But, you know, I haven't found anybody to take my place, because I don't want you to change that which I feel is important for the growth of a child beyond dance. I don't want you to change that.